welcome to day 12 of the CRaFTi Advent series. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's video, which was another one with annotations on rather than a voiceover. But today's video, I was using the Tonic strip dies in the feather version. And I'm using lots of Nuvo products, the Nuvo Pure Sheen glitters, to create a really cool glittered feather look. I really do love this card as well. I think I've said that for most of the cards in this series, but that's why I'm picking all my favourites. So, but I really do love how this one came out, and I do want to do some more like this. It's such a cool technique, adding the glitter behind the die cut. So here, that background that you just saw that's now underneath, there we go, that background, that was just created using ink sprays. I think it was some Dilutions ink sprays, but you could do it with watercolours, you could do it with your Aquaflows, you could even just do it with like distress inks and blend a background. Any background you want is perfect for this. Or here, so I've cut the two bits of the feather together, and you see at the top there, I want to get that stitched edge that I've used for the main panel around this, but I didn't want to cut off that gorgeous little tuft of the feather, so I like poked it above the die so it wasn't going to cut it, and then that's just going to hang over the top of the card, which isn't a problem because my cards are shorter than an A6 envelope, so they'll still fit in the envelope nicely. Yeah, and the double stitched rectangle I've used is one of the CRaFTi Potential ones, but I think that set's sold out now, and I'm pretty sure they're not getting any more back in. So anyway, I'm now using one of the Sentiment strip dies. I think I'm using 4U. I really love these dies. I really hope they bring some more out in the future because they're such a gorgeous scripty font. It's so fine as well. I still can't get over how fine they are. And they even cut mirror card like perfectly fine. I know that's not mirror card, but I'm looking at one that's cut from mirror card right in front of me at the moment. And they cut it so perfectly. It's crazy. Okay, so I'm poking all the little pieces out of the die cut. Just using my Tim Holtz craft pick. Be careful because it's really sharp and I poke myself all the time. And then I'm going to stick this to a piece of acetate. This is some of the Craft Perfect construction acetate, and it had that protective layer on the front of it. I used that because I wanted it to look really nice and shiny, so I used the protective layer. I'm going to stick it onto the side where the protective layer came off of, if that makes any sense, because that will be the front, because we're going to add the glitter to the back when we get around to it. I'm just using some of the Nuvo glue in a fine tip bottle just to get in those tiny places, and then I'm patting it on my hand to take the excess glue off. And then I'm just going to stick that on, hope that it stays stuck nicely, and then I'm going to snip around the edges with my Tim Holtz mini snip scissors from Tonic. It doesn't matter if you don't cut right behind those little white pieces that stick out at the end of the feathers, because you just want it to cover all of the inner sections of the feathers. It doesn't have to cover the wispy sections. Because the idea behind this is going to be like kind of like a faux stained glass look, and we're going to add glue to the acetate, and then we're going to sprinkle confetti and glitter onto it and then let it dry, and you'll be able to see it through the front of the card. It's kind of difficult to explain, but you'll see in a second. So, I've picked out my colours of glitter. I think I've got, I'm going to use candy pink circles with hot pink glitter, first of all. So I'm going to fill in a few of the sections. Just any random sections really. I wasn't really paying attention to where I was putting them. If you wanted to, you could have a pattern and do like, you know, every third little bit is one colour or whatever. But I think the random looks perfect, especially when you're using colours that are so close, like pinks and purples. You know, there's not too much of a difference between the colours. So now I'm going to use some of those tiny candy pink circles and sprinkle them into the glue. I want them to be quite visible, so I'm sprinkling them in first, tapping off the excess because I'm going to add glitter over the top and I don't want to contaminate it. Then I'm going to add that hot pink glitter right over the top to fill in all the rest of that adhesive. And you won't be able to tell from the front, it will just look white at the moment, but when that dries it will look gorgeous. You'll see in the photos at the end. It's quite difficult to show on camera when it was dry, but in the photos at the end you can see the effect that it gives. So you want to make sure you try and get off as much of that excess as you can, because we're going to be going back in a second and adding more glue. If you wanted, you could wait for each section to completely dry first, but you don't have to. If you just use a paintbrush to take any of that glitter that's static to the acetate off, you can just go straight in with the next colour, which is great because it saves time. So again, I'm just filling in some more random areas. Not following any pattern, just sort of thinking where I want to put the colours next to each other and everything. And if you have the packaging in front of you, actually, it does kind of help, because when it's sort of backwards and, you know, it's a bit difficult to tell which bits are like curving over on the feather and which bits are sort of recessed back. You might want to use darker colours in them and stuff. So yeah. So now I'm using purple organza glitter. There are purple organza butterfly confetti too, so if you wanted to, you could do the same thing again with the confetti and have little butterflies in your feather as well. I didn't for this one, I just kept the confetti to the first one, but you can. You can add confetti to all the different ones if you wanted to. Star confetti on it would look brilliant. And then I'm just going to fill in the remaining areas. I think I filled in every other area next. I think I only used 3 colours, I can't remember, but we'll find out in a second. Yes, I'm just filling in the rest of the areas. I think I have filled in it all. And then I'm going to use Alaskan blue. This was one of the glitters that you could buy individually. The other ones I've been using are ones that came in the sets of 4, but this one's an individual one. And yeah, I have finished it off and covered it with everything. There's no need to brush off that excess until it's dry. It's now dry, before you like realise that I'm wiping wet glue, but I'm not, because I had let it dry. Yes, it's quite difficult to tell in the video, the look of it, but you can see it at the end. And it's so annoying that my camera doesn't pick up pink and purple very well, because that background looks not very nice, but it's really bright pink in real life. Anyway, so now that's all dry, I'm adding all my foam tape behind it, and I'm going to raise that up onto the card. I just think adding the foam tape it kind of gives a better finish, especially when you've got sort of a lumpy glue on the back of it, and also it just gives a nice shadow to the background too, because you've got that sort of shadow effect of the gorgeous ruffly edge of the feather. And then I'm going to add the For You sentiment on. Again, I'm using the Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive, but I've put it in a fine tip applicator bottle just to make it easier. It does have quite a fine tip to it, but I just like these fine tip bottles. Then I'm going to use Periwinkle Blue Sequins and Hot Pink Stars just to scatter across the card, and sort of kind of gives that feel that the feather is sort of floating through the air, and it's like floating with a load of glittery stuff or something. That's what it is in my head anyway. So I'm just sort of scattering them on in a random fashion, and then once I've stuck them on, I'm going to use some Nuvo drops in the centres of them as well. So you can use like a sticky pick-up tool to pick things up. I just find it's easiest just to use my fingers to pick things up. And I'm sort of going roughly with the exact random pattern that they just fell in when I stuck them, when I sprinkled them across, and then in other places I'm moving them a little bit. Oh, I'm going to stick it onto my card. Yes, that's a good tip actually. When you're going to use Nuvo drops directly wet onto your card, make sure you stick your panel to your card blank first, because then you can just leave your card to dry overnight and it's finished once it is dry. Whereas if you've left the panel, if you've done them onto the panel, then you can't really stick it onto your card blank, and then you've got to do that step later as well. But anyway, so I'm using Lilac Whisper Nuvo glitter drops in the background, but first I'm going to put Bonnie Blue Nuvo vintage drops in the centre of the Periwinkle sequins, because I think that matte and shiny together looks really cool. And then this is that Lilac Whisper, just to fill in any extra gaps where I think the sort of flurry of sparkly bits needs to be filled in or anything. Then at this point I was like, the background looks too plain, I should have done some stamping on the background. So I'm kind of risking it a bit here, but I decide to stamp on it. I mean, the background is flat, stuck to the card, so it's not too much of a risk, but I've already put wet Nuvo drops on there, so it is a little bit of a risk. So I'm using, this is the, were like floral apertures, and they was the oval Pansy collection, and this was the stamp that coordinated with that die set. And I'm going to be using Panama Rose Nuvo hybrid ink pad as well, and you saw me just cleaning my stamp there to make sure it was clean. I'm just testing it here to make sure it is clean, because I'm going straight onto my card and it's almost finished, and then I've crossed my fingers there for luck. But it worked, so that was good. And to get that stamp onto the card without interfering with the other elements we've put on, you just want to make sure the stamp is as far into the corner of your acrylic block as you can get it, and then it's going to be much easier to stamp onto the card without interfering with anything else. There we go, we can see it up close here, the confetti and the glitter. It's a really gorgeous effect, and you see how bright that pink is. It's not that bright on my camera, but when I take a photo of it, it's gorgeous. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hopefully I will carry on till the end of Advent and do some more videos for you. So thank you so much for watching and for subscribing and everything. I really appreciate it. So bye!